The gift of yourself to yourself. I'm Kathleen Wiley, a Jungian psychoanalyst in North Carolina, and I am here with Deborah Henson-Conant, a composer, a mentor, a creative, and we both play the harp, although my harp isn't in the picture this morning, but it's here. And that's why we call this Jung at Harp. And almost every week, DHC and I come together to have a conversation about a question that we're curious about. And we hope in our process of being open to discovery in the moment that you'll join in with us through the chat on whatever medium you're watching live. And let's explore together and see what we come up with. We don't start with answers or a script, but we start with questions. So, I'll just start by saying we are mid-December, and so maybe that automatically lets you know why we're talking about giving the gift of yourself to yourself. It's a time of year that tends to get really, really hectic, and we can get very pulled off center for everything we feel we need to be doing and preparing to give to other people. So, right before we started, I said, well, to give anything to someone else, we have to give ourselves to ourselves first.
Right. And it's funny, Kathleen, because I just realized that we met early this morning to do some admin. And one of the things we forgot to do that we always do is check our sound. So hopefully our sound is good today and you can hear us. And this is a lot on my mind, how to give the gift of yourself was my first question. And then Kathleen said, but wait, you have to first give it to yourself. And one of the reasons I was thinking about this is that yesterday I was training a group of harp players how to create video greeting cards. Not to create the perfect video greeting card, but to create a structure in which you could make a video greeting card for every single person on your list. Switching away from the idea of, hey, let's create art, create something perfect, to having a structure to be able to do it over and over and over again so that you can get connected to yourself as you're connecting to other people. And it was a very simple structure. And I had taught also one of my favorite parts of one of my favorite Christmas carols. And the part was, what is this? Right. It was like, I just love it. I just find that it's very joyful, that particular part of the Christmas Carol. And also it's just got this sort of dramatic, I don't know if you can see this dramatic repetition of that. And so it's simple once you learn it, because it's just a pattern. It starts on G and then it goes up, down, 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 F. This is just up, down, 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 E, up, down, 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 D. Meanwhile, you keep using the same tone in the bottom. So it's all about drama, and it also lets you create a card where you turn on the video and you're like, hello, Kathleen. I'm thinking about you now at it's Halloween. I'm thinking about you now on the holidays, and I wanted to play you. And also training yourself to look at the camera and not be preparing to look at the harp. So all this stuff of taking a simple creative structure and utilizing it over and over again to connect with others. But in order to do that, you have to feel very comfortable with the thing you're doing, even if it's just, you just do this part of it, the part where you don't have to worry about what you're playing, so that you can really make that connection, and you can say what you need to say. And part of what I wanted to, not what I just said, say what you need to say. I mean, say something from your heart to someone else's heart. And what happens when you do it over and over again is, if you're lucky, is you get out of the thing of, I've got to do this right, I want to look good, you keep distilling and distilling and distilling until you have the thing that is so easy to do, even if it is press the button, look in the camera, and do this and say, happy, happy holidays. I wish I could be with you. Boom. Like, to get it down to the distilled, where you can connect with what you're doing and what you're saying, so you truly can give the gift of yourself and whatever you're doing to someone else, instead of trying to present, perform, hide, prove, all those things that take you out of the human connection.
Yeah. Yeah, as you were talking, what came up for me is how, in order to be comfortable with what we're doing, we have to be comfortable with what we're feeling. And being comfortable with what we're feeling leads us to being comfortable with who we are. And that really is a key to being able to give yourself the gift of yourself. Because from the psychoanalytic traditions, we know that the sense of self comes up and through the body. Freud said that decades ago. And that in the body, we have a felt sense of how we are, whether we feel valuable or worthy, or we feel shame and less than, or a variety of other feelings. So I'm just aware when you said being comfortable with what you're doing and saying what you want to say, sharing from the heart, that the heart takes us again into that realm of the felt sense of what's happening in our body and in our body mind. And so we have to be comfortable with that, which often means being willing to consciously entertain, dialogue with, be in relationship in that way to feelings and parts of ourselves that come up that we aren't comfortable with, that we may not even like. Because if I'm going to get comfortable with myself and be able to say what's in my heart that is relational and ideally loving, then I may have to go through some of what's blocking the way to that feeling that's nasty and pissy, and that is angry, and that is hurt, and that is reclusive and mistrustful. So we have to get comfortable with all of it, so that somehow the organic processes that develop our sense of self can work on our behalf and help us find the comfort to know what our true heart is.
So that's really interesting, this idea about finding the comfort, because one of the things we did in this little workshop, it was part of Harp Time Live. Part of what we did was I taught this, G, go up, down, 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 F, up, down, 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 E, up, down, 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 D, G, G. And then something very simple. It just goes C, D, E, F, E, D, C. So the tune is very simple. And so people were like, yeah, I got it. But I was like, no, we're going to do it over and over and over and over again until it becomes really part of what we can say, so that we're not thinking about it. And so first of all, one of the things I asked after we did it, 10 times, and we had like 10 gold doubloons to, go to count those 10 times. But part of what I asked people, if you were home alone, would you do that? Would you practice this many times? And they were like, no, I would not. And I realized that so often we're just trying to get the thing, and we think that once we have it, that allows us to express ourselves. And then another thing that I noticed that people have all the time is it's not enough. So if all I can do is happy holidays, that's not enough. And therefore, we're constantly in this sort of compensatory or trying to prove, instead of in that state of like, what I have is enough. This, I love you, is not enough. It has to be something that proves something. Now, so here's what I want to get to give myself the permission that this plus this is enough, because this is who I am. This is the character, the love, the experience, the life force, or the life energy.
Right.
Now, you know, I live in the world of playing and creating and training in music, and you live in the world of playing and training and creating, the psyche, right? I mean, am I characterizing that correctly?
Well, I wouldn't say we create the psyche, but
Okay, all
we
right.
we do the gardening so it will grow more beautifully.
Right, right. And so part of what our conversation is always, and we both, I'm fascinated by what you do. You are also live in the world
Yeah.
of music. You play the harp. That's how we met. And so wha- in embodiment. So I'm showing like take
Yeah.
something simple, as slow as you want. And that's all you have to do. So I'm saying that is enough to express love.
Yeah, so two things I want to say since I mentioned beautifully, beauty meaning that we're living out of, in alignment with our true nature. To me, that's what beauty is. It isn't an outer world standard, but when we live more beautifully, it's the beauty that comes from within because we're living in sync with our true nature. And I think in order to know our true nature and what ties to what you just said is you have to slow down. You have to you slowed down right there when you illustrated that. And we have to slow down enough to connect to where is the energy in me? Where's the flow that is my true nature? And you know, people will often say to me, I don't know. I say, well, some part of you knows. And we just have to begin to listen and again clear out things that might block that. And when we get in our head with, oh, it should be this, it should, like with the harp, it should be more complicated. I should have more technique, whatever. We totally get out here. We're not at all embodied to know what our own energy is doing or what we really want. So that slowing down and shifting from out here or up here with all of what we think, I should give a gift this way. I should have prepared this meal. I should whatever. I should play this tune better. I should have more complicated technique to wait a minute. What feels right in me now? What resonates with my heart? And how do you know? You know.
Well,
You know.
actually, I was thinking, that's the hardest part of all. I'm like, how do I know? I'm thinking that the judgment, like I'm thinking as you were talking about this, I was thinking, okay, a harp is a great instrument because it's got anybody can do this, anybody
Mhm.
can do that, and it's beautiful and it's fun and it's wonderful and it's like fireworks and it's like water and as you were talking about slow, I was thinking, of course, my contrary idea was like, yeah, but I really like to play fast. It's so fun. But I was thinking, and in the moment I was thinking, well, what would it be like? Would it be like to do something really slow, get more and more comfortable, get just like a
Yeah.
kid, get faster and faster and faster. But to experience that and to feel that, and and I'm also thinking about being a kid and being like, hey, I made this thing and I want to give it to you. So enjoying the gift of just giving, the enjoyment of
Mhm.
giving, the what happens with your eyes, what happens with your hands, what happens with the gesture of
Right.
giving.
Right. Well,
Although
what you're talking
sometimes I feel when like a kid gives me something here, or when my cat is like, here, it's a dead mouse. And then I don't know, always feel, it's not, I know the intention.
Ah, yeah. Uh, well, but I mean, I had two thoughts. The funny thought is our little dog Gigi, who's a 10-pound Shih Tzu Schnauzer, likes these little soft balls that squeak. And so when she's really happy, she'll just lay in the center of the floor and squeak the ball. It just goes squeak, 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 squeak. And we always laugh about she's another musician in the family. So anyway, but I think when it comes to appreciating the squeak, squeak, squeak of the ball as music or your cat's gift of the mouse, then I think what we really have to see beyond is it isn't the music of the squeaking ball or the dead mouse that's the gift, but it's their connection to us and they're wanting to share with us what brings them joy. And I think when, as little kids, we create something and we have joy in the creating, unless someone's shut it down because of criticality and outer world standards. But little kids typically have joy in what they create, and then you want to share that. It's like, look here, and it's to share that joy, to share the joy, to have a moment of connection around the aliveness that's in it. And I think that's what so often gets lost when we're caught up in shoulds, must, and ought tos and outer world expectations. One of the reasons I started the online embodiment circle and the first spiral is 6 embodiment practices is because they're so seemingly simple that people will not do them on their own. Just like the exercise you were doing at Harp
Right,
Time Live.
right,
Because they
right,
think, oh, well, I already know this. I know I can scan my body and see what's going on. Why do I need to practice that for a month? Why do I? And it's because something happens as you say in the strings of passion, you have a practice and you
right.
give yourself over to the practice. And from the embodiment perspective, I say it develops a psychic muscle that you start to tune into yourself in a way that you don't do it by just kind of glossing over or doing the scan quickly. Just like if I give myself over, and I did this last night when John and I were playing, we were playing this wonderful trance-inducing tune, a chanter's tune, and he was playing around with Dadgad on his guitar, and we were alternating doing harmony and melody. And I love the song so much, and it so induces kind of this trance-like calmness in me that I could just let myself play around with what I was doing as the harmony and not get hung up on, was it the right thing? Did it have to go to this note? And we were recording it, and it was gorgeous when I listened back. And even when I was playing melody and I make quote mistakes, it didn't matter because the soul and heart of the music was there. But that didn't come because I played it once or twice and stopped. It came because we kept going through it and through it and through it and through it. The same thing is true to know
Right.
what resonates with ourselves. You do the body scan, you do the rhythmic breathing over and over and over, and you start to drop into something. You get underneath the imposed head things. I think that is what happens when
Hmm.
you are with like Harp Time Live and you do something 10 times.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Three things are occurring to me, and I'm hoping I can hold them all in my head, which is, and they all come to giving the gift of yourself to yourself often comes through creating for others, maybe, or for ourselves. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's really that practice. And you're reminding me of a new class that we created this year in Hip Harp Academy, which is called Transformational Practices. And each
Mhm.
person chose a practice. It's really simple. They can be simple practices. Like I chose something about, feeling a golden light in my spine. And it's just
Mhm.
it's just a practice that we take on. But then week after week, we share with each other what happens, because I discovered that as I took on this practice and just was playing with it, it would go to a new level. I was in the middle of a race and I was playing with the idea, and suddenly I had this, oh, what if I play with what if it's breath, and what if it's twirling around? Like, what if that gold light is twirling around and not just going up and down?
Mhm.
And I'm thinking that, there's so much in my brain right now. One is, what happens when somebody gives us something and expects us to respond to it, and we're just like, what do you want me to do? Or do you want me? Okay, now I'm getting into like this other like grumpy territory. Is like, do you want me to like tell you this is good, or like why are you so?
Mhm.
So how can I? How that kind of gets into the like cat gives you a rabbit head, bloody rabbit head as a present. Um, but no, I mean, I'm not saying that my friends give me bloody rabbit heads. I'm just saying how to appreciate, how to enjoy and take the practice of appreciating. And it just occurred to me again, it is taking on the practice of appreciating what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'm playing anything or whatever meal that I make or whatever mess that I've created, whatever I've created in my life, to actually appreciate that, to practice appreciating the gift of anything I am
Mm-hmm.
without judgment. I would say, I'm realizing now in this conversation that this is the practice of being able to give the gift of myself because I have it, because I haven't cut it off and said, that's not good enough.
Right.
That's ugly. You shouldn't do that. That's not, but actually being able to see. And it's funny because recently we were able to reinvigorate the Burnt Food Museum. And the Burnt Food Museum came out of this intentionality of taking whatever happens in the kitchen and enjoying it, even if it's burnt, or once it hits the burnt phase, if you forget about it, it becomes art. And allowing that full spectrum of appreciation to exist.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how Jung says that our psyche is a multiplicity of parts and
Mm-hmm.
that we are a complex of opposites. And so, even as you were talking about how do you respond to someone who gives you a gift, and if the grumpy part of you is like, well, what do you want me to do? It's like there's this part of us that's like, well, that's not my thing. But this other part of us wants to appreciate and stay in connection and say, you know what? How wonderful you thought of me and you brought me this gift. That the gift, again, isn't about the object, the thing, but the gift is about the presence and the desire for connection that the person's offering us with the thing. Unfortunately, what sometimes happens at the holidays is people give the outer object without the real desire to connect. It's like I've checked off the box. And I think and I think giving ourselves to ourselves is the same. You can fill your day with things that look like activities for yourself, going to the gym, getting a pedicure, having your favorite meal. But if it's not really, you're not with yourself, connecting with the experience and checking in, is this really what I need right now to be in the smelly nail salon with or, with the nail polish fumes? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that isn't bothering you, but maybe there's this other part of you that's a little on edge and overly sensitive, and that smell is upsetting your stomach. I mean, we have to be able to hold these parts. And again, I want to put a plug in for the embodiment circle, which is if you're watching mid-December, it's open for you to join and begin December 21st on the solstice. You can find out about it at onlinesacredcircles.com. But part of what the body scan does is it develops a sense of feeling held in your body consciously. And that sense of containment, of being held within our own primary home, our body, is I mean, it's the base from which it is the base in which we find ourselves. I'll say it that way. So artistry at the heart really comes down to what you're feeling in your body about it as you play. Then you can image it. Sometimes we start from the top down. We imagine it in order to invoke the feeling inside, but the body has to be involved.
I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm thinking through all the experiences of giving, like, feeling that I'm supposed to give because then I'll be remembered, or I have to give something that's enough, or if somebody gives something to me and I think, I don't know what to do with this. I don't like that smell of that soap and I don't know what to do. And then the fear that they will be like, how did you like that soap? And how did that, and I won't know what to say. And I just realized a gift that I can give myself with every single thing, which is to actually allow myself to experience that anxiety and know that that is part of my life,
Yes.
and to be able to take that in, kind of understand that, let that go, and then through it, understand that what's really happening is someone is connecting with me.
That's right.
And
Right.
then when I give anything, think about it doesn't matter what try, okay, here's my brain. Try to make it short anyway.
Right.
But but maybe not. Maybe don't try to make it short, and know that it's fine if they don't listen to the whole thing. It is a gift, and all that really what happens when you give a gift is that you are making a connection. It's an opportunity to, if we were in live, to touch someone's hand, and that's really what we're sharing. And
That's right.
so I'm thinking now that every single thing that I give and every single thing that I receive, let's say just for the next 15 days and then onward beyond that, I am going to be focusing on what that connection is opening up in me, even if it's opening up, not even if, including the opportunity to actually understand some of the anxiety in my life about where I feel like I'm not enough, or where I feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or where I'm afraid that I'm going to do something wrong. And that is a
Yeah.
gift.
It's a tremendous gift. And when we can be with our own anxiety or our own distress or turmoil, it's amazing how it starts to shift it. There's something about presence, connection, that is a powerful healing salve, healing meaning movement toward wholeness. And
Mm,
so giving the gift of yourself to yourself by making room to be with all of that instead of trying to deny it, ignore it, dismiss it, demean it, or
right.
dissociate from it. You
Right.
know?
And now that you're saying that, I'm thinking, and one of the things I teach people in the academy is how to find out what each thing that someone shares, what that opens up for us as a possibility. What is the gift in that?
That's right.
So, what I'm getting out of this conversation, and I know it's time for us to bring it to an end, is that it's up to me to
Mhm.
find the gift in every single thing. And that is creative thinking.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's more than thinking as a logical function, it's
Mhm.
creative experiencing that includes
Mm.
thinking and feeling and sensing and intuiting. You know,
Yeah,
it's
and being
it
open, being
right.
open. And we said, right, and we said that today, I'm just thinking that we were going to speak within the possibility of light and joy and curiosity. And so I'm also thinking that those 2 are the gifts that I wanna be exchanging.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I just realized that when we exchange, it really is that gift is coming back and forth in the exchange.
and it gets magnified. That's
Right.
one of
Right.
yeah, it yeah. Yeah.
Wow, okay, well, I got the answer that I was looking for today, Kathleen. Thank you, and thank you for everybody who joined us in this conversation where we bring our curiosity and what we know about the psyche and about creativity, and look for the land that opens up within the conversation. And I hope that you will take this conversation and see what opens up in your life from it. And thank you so much for joining us. And perhaps will we see each other next week, or will you be away, Kathleen?
I may be away. I'll let you
Okay.
know, but we'll
All right.
definitely be back the first Friday in January.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much. And you can look at older episodes um, at jung@harp.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and
Mm.
go forth and harp on the gift